Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Dr. Unati here, your host. You know me. Today, I have a special topic for you guys. I have a special friend who just said, I'll do this with you, Unati. So I'm so grateful to Zoe. I'm going to quickly introduce her. Today, we're discussing again our kids. I think it's important for us parents to understand, or even caregivers in general, to understand the impact of our words or our doing that we do sometimes unconsciously. Sometimes we do things unconsciously and in the process harming our kids' mental health. So I'm going to actually introduce our guest. It is Miss Solisoma Gwenju. She is a social worker for 21 years. I couldn't believe it. Time flies. She holds a degree in social work, and she's currently pursuing and also honors in psychology and now pursuing masters in child protection. So she's big with children. I love that about her. And currently now she's supervising one of the NGOs in Pretoria, South Africa. Thank you so much, Zoe. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for doing this. So, without wasting our time, we're going to talk about a topic that is actually trending. Subconsciously, people know about this, but a lot of times parents don't know what they're doing, could be harmful to our children. So, today we're going to talk about parental alienation syndrome. What it means is one parent vilifying another parent to a child or to their children. Speaking badly of another parent to your child could have end results, which could be harmful to your child's mental health. Miss Zoe, tell us about parental alienation. You see this every day. People are probably wondering, what is that? Do you want to take us through, please?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Nat. Parental alienation is when one parent distorts the perception of the child of the other parent. It is when this one parent discredits continuously the other parent. It usually happens after a divorce or during separation, when the parents are not having a good relationship in their marital relationship. Then it they use that issue that they are having with each other to get to the other parent, and they want this child to hate the other parent. Basically, they will blame the other parent for everything that is happening, that is wrong. They will blame the other parent for the divorce or the separation, and it is affecting children badly, and it is a phenomenon that is so common nowadays that it is great that you have allowed us to talk about it, because I think I believe that all parents need to be aware of parental alienation, and they need to know what are the signs, what could they be doing that we are terming parental alienation, or that could lead to parental alienation.
Yes. You know what, Zoe? I was actually looking at the stats. Initially, in the past, it was always moms who were caregivers primarily to children, and it was almost 90% of the percentage of this effect from the mother's end. But now it has gone up to 50-50. Even dads are doing the same about the moms, right? And I was quite surprised at how even Dr. Gardner, the psychologist who found this, it was because children were exhibiting fear and also just speaking so bad about their other parent. And that's when the psychologist decided to do this research. What is going on in these families? Why are these children at this young age have such guts to speak negatively about the other parent? So tell me, Zoe, you just mentioned the signs. What should we look for?
For the alienating, in parental alienation, there's an alienator.
Yes.
There's the alienated parent. Then there is the alienated child.
Yes.
So for the alienator, it is important to note that the things that we do, it's usually uh, divulging information to the child that is unnecessary about the relationships of this other party. For instance, um, as a mother, I would be telling my children about the affairs that the father has, and maybe take it from, ever since you were a baby, your father has had five relationships with five different girls. I wonder which one is he having by now.
Mm, mm,
Sometimes we are not mindful of the fact that that is damaging to the child, or the effects of that, because we are also caught up in our own head, and and disappointment and betrayal in the relationship. So
yes,
we must refrain from telling children things that they are not supposed to know,
yes,
talking bad about this other parent because they are not with the child at the moment. Uh, Sometimes the alienator will prevent the child from spending time with the other
yes. Very
parent. Even though there is a parenting plan, or there is the custody is with could be with the father
yes.
at a certain a period in time. But this alienating parent will find reasons why it is not suitable for the child to go see the father at that
Mm,
time.
yes.
The other things that we do is we will, as the alienating parent, we would refuse for the child to go, even though they are not supposed to go. But if it is a special day, for instance, uh, like a birthday
Yes.
of the mother,
Mm-hmm.
and the child is supposed to be with the father, then the father will refuse. That is unreasonable refusal.
Mm-hmm.
Although he is supposed to be with the child, but it is unreasonable for him to refuse the child to go and see the mother and spend the day, because it is a special day.
Yeah.
So those are the things that they do, and they will also uh, have keep important information about the child, and keep that information secret. Like, for instance, if the children stays with me as the mother, I will be keeping their cards, their important documents, and I will know about their friends, you know,
Yeah.
and that information I will keep to myself, and not want the other partner to have access to that kind of information, because I want this child to be aligned to me,
Mm-hmm.
and me as the caring parent, who knows their friends, who is understanding, you know. So that is damaging to the child,
Of
because
course.
all these things that the alienating parent does, it damages the child, not only mentally, but also physically, because we know that some of the things that the child will exhibit, although psychological, but they will always also have that somatic presentation, you
Yes.
know. So it not only affects them as individuals, it also affects them also socially, and also affects them physically,
Yeah.
so they might be sick. So what we need to know is that the prolonged acrimony between the parents has adverse effects for the
Yes.
children.
Yes.
It puts the children in war,
Mm,
and the children literally find themselves in a tug of war. They are
yeah.
in the middle, so
Yeah.
they are pulled from all sides. So
Yes.
we need to be mindful of that, and stop doing it, because
Yeah.
it does not have good effects on the children.
Yeah.
Often when there is this acrimony, and there is this war between the two parties, they forget about the child.
Yes. Yes.
And it is never in the best interest of the child, but it is aimed at pleasing me,
Yes.
as the alienating parent. Because most often the alienating parent might be having narcissistic tendencies.
Mm-hmm.
So, and narcissistic people, they focus on themselves. Everything is about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So they will not see the perspective of the other parent regarding whatever that is happening. So everything is about them, and they will be claiming that they are protecting the children.
Yes.
If they are doing that, they are protecting the children. We find parents that are so vindictive that when the child visits the father, they will be calling, asking, what are you doing now? Where is he? Who is in the house?
Mm-hmm.
Does he have a partner? Or if he's married to someone else, how is that other spouse treating you?
Mm.
So you are constantly involving the child in things that they are not supposed to be involved in. And we need to stop that. We need
Yeah.
to be aware that those behaviors, although it might there might be behaviors that are due to whatever that is happening, within you as you are dealing with a loss,
Yes.
because divorce, it is a loss.
It
You
is a lot.
understand that? So, and it is a loss, and you have to grieve,
Mm.
and go through all the stages uh, of that loss. But
Yeah.
as we do that, we need to be mindful and not let our own issues and how we are dealing with this loss affect the children more than the divorce itself has already affected the children.
Oh my
Because
gosh.
divorce alone affects the children
Yes.
in that they are used to staying with both parents. Now
Yes.
they find themselves with one parent
Yes.
and they have a relationship with the other parent,
Yes.
but
Yes.
they cannot stay with. So the least that we can do is to meet these children halfway and be supportive and make sure that you foster a very good and healthy relationship with the other parent who does not have the primary residence of the child. That is
Though
the least that you
said
can do.
so much, I want to have questions here for you. You mentioned somatic symptoms. A lot of times, as doctors, we see these young kids, 10-year-old, coming constantly with headaches and stomach ache. Those are the two commonest symptoms kids come with. And sometimes chest pains. So I would like parents here to pay attention to what Ms. Soliswa is talking about, because we do see really headaches. And then you start giving your child Tylenol, Panado, which could eventually harm the liver of the child from just pain, from emotions. And she's mentioning something important. There's already a loss. This child is also grieving. She doesn't need extra stress from an adult. So tell me, Zoe, parents here are probably wondering, how do we deal with one parent who is constantly doing this? Because there's usually court involved. How does the other parent, who is trying her best not to do all this alienation, trying to protect this child, how do they do that? How do they approach that?
The alienated parent can only uh, motivate or request the other party to seek professional help,
Yes.
because there's no one size fits all.
Mhm.
The therapy is needed, for all parties that are involved.
Yes. Yes.
So it would be nicer if when people are going through the divorce and they can see these behaviors early, they decide to consult early. They
Yeah.
consult with professionals. They don't have to go to one professional. They
Yes.
can have independent professionals, as the mother would go to and see their own therapist, the father would go and see their own therapist, and the child needs to go and see a therapist also, so that everyone is dealt with in terms of the whatever issues that they could be having, because this is a psychological issue. It will present as such also. It needs to be attended to in terms of therapy,
Yeah.
whilst the court and all the other processes are ongoing, like in terms of mediation and all those making parenting agreements and all of that. There is a need for professional assistance, and there's no one thing that we can say it will be done or it will be given. It
Yes.
is going to depend on the individual circumstances of each parent, but Definitely. And I can say this categorically. The alienating parent does need to seek professional help, because that is an abnormal behavior.
Yes, yes,
Parental alienation in itself is not recognized in, as a disorder,
yes. I
but
know.
we know that it is there. It is a phenomenon that is there, and it is affecting children. So
Yeah,
those alienating parents, they need a professional assistance to be able to deal with that, because it is a lot of issues that could be contributing to that, including the narcissistic traits,
yeah,
that could be in that person,
yeah.
within that person. So it's not something that we can deal with by shouting at each other, or talking, or even talking. uh, I don't think there is any amount of talking from relatives, or extended parents, extended family members, that could help this person to stop this. They need professional help, because someone has to go deeper and look into the the the
Themselves.
issues,
Yes,
the issues that this person is having. That
yes,
could be coming from childhood, and
yes,
also the issues, things that were happening in the marriage whilst it was still happening.
yes,
But I want to state, Dr. Unati, that it is important to note that this usually happens when the child had a very good relationship prior the divorce.
mm,
So suddenly the child changes
mm,
and will be talking negatively about this other parent.
mm.
And that is a sign that there's parental alienation,
Yeah,
especially when the child is going to not have one positive thing about this other parent, but
yes,
everything is just negative about the other parent.
yes. We see
And,
this all the time, so we see this.
and
I've seen it with my friends, I've seen it at work, I'm seeing it every day, and it doesn't matter the social background, the economic background. It is in the low class, low income people, middle class, and upper class. It's just that people's bitterness does affect how they relate with their children. And you are mentioning, I would love us to go back to that narcissistic behavior, because a lot of times parents don't necessarily realize that it's actually usually from their past, their childhood. We just mentioned that maybe that parent herself or himself was raised by a narcissistic parent herself or himself. That's how maybe she noticed or he noticed his father or her father addressing the other parent. And then it becomes a progressive order of they become like that in their marriages and in relationships. That's quite something.
mm,
Yeah, you
mm.
wanted to say something.
And I just wanted to say that with the child, maybe I want to mention a few signs in the child, you
Yes.
know, that could be an indication of alienation that is happening. I've already mentioned that the child will be seeing that this other party on a very negative light.
Yes. Yes.
They will not have anything positive to say about the other party. Um, and it is important to note that there is no evidence
Yes.
for
Yes.
this, for all these negativities or justifications. So you'll find that it's just pure negativity. The child will feel neglected. You
Yes.
know, uh, that is the result of the alienation itself.
Yes, because a lot
The
of
reason,
the other parent is protecting this child from seeing the other one. And now the child starts hating the other parent. That why is that? And they even go to an extent of telling your father or your mother doesn't love you. He or she loves
exactly.
the new family she has or he has. I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happens. When they are doing that, this child sometimes it's not only about these behaviors of telling children these wrong things about the other. It's
Yeah.
also about these two parties focusing so much on the war that is amongst themselves, that they forget to provide for the needs of the child. So
Yes.
the child is neglected,
In that
because
process.
there's no time to look after the child. But all these parties are focusing on this war that is between them.
Yeah.
So it is important for us to be aware of that. The child will have claims, that are unsubstantiated about the other part. Uh, they can even go to the extent of saying that the other party abused them.
Yes.
That is how bad it is. You find this alienating parent uh, having photos uh, uh, of the body of the child. This child went to visit their father. So now the child is coming back. So when they come back, they will be taking photos. They'll be taking photos before they go, because this other party is all of a sudden
A danger
an,
to people.
an abusive parent. That is a danger.
Mm.
But this danger has never happened before. When they were married and things were going well and they were all lovey-dovey, this was a good father. But all of a sudden, he is abusive. And the biggest danger is in parents telling a child, um, forcing a child to lie.
Yes, I've seen that a lot. So I see
To
that a
lie
lot.
about the other parent, to say that they didn't get food, or they were left alone throughout the night because or the father was drunk.
Mm.
I'll keep on saying the father again, because the majority of the cases that I have come into contact with,
Yes.
it's women, it's mothers that tend to be bitter.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I am not saying that the males do not do it. They do it,
Yes.
but in the majority, is women. Although this is not a research, that has been done and established, but from looking at it from the practice perspective,
Yes.
the majority, it is women.
Yes.
Women have a tendency of alienating the fathers, you know,
Yes.
and influencing them and having issues with the new partner.
Yes.
Uh, they have issues with the new partner. The new partner cannot take care of. They cannot be in contact with this child. They will poison the child. All those things that are probably unfounded, because they don't even know this new partner. Sometimes the new partner is the person who the husband had an affair with
Yes.
during the marriage. So it brings all that hatred and bitterness, from the fact that this woman has taken,
Yes.
this woman has broken my marriage. This woman has taken my husband. You understand? Now this woman wants to take away my child,
Yes.
or my
Yes.
children,
Yes.
because an alienating parent will not want this other spouse, this new spouse, to have a relationship with their children.
Yes. And
You
you know what?
understand?
So I can imagine people, they are hurting, and a lot of times it's about, why would you love my kids if you hated me so much, you wanted my man? There's so much dynamic there. And I would like our viewers here to have that discretion, and also that emotional intelligence, because it needs emotional intelligence to be able to differentiate between your own conflicts with your ex, not to involve children. I've seen a lot of children presenting with a lot of anxiety and depression. And I always tell these parents, there is no antidepressant that will cure this. There is no antidepressant. Yes, maybe antidepressants might have a place, when the child is hurting and is depressed, but a lot of times children need reassurance from both parents who are emotionally intelligent, who want the best for this child. And we both know that a lot of African families, a lot of women, most especially we'll talk about our country here, South Africa, there's a lot of single parents. Mothers are raising children alone. That's a big danger for women that are raising. There is no masculinity in our children. That's why we're seeing a lot of domestic violence, because these children, they also exhibit these antisocial behaviors. And a father could be there and guide his child. And I'm not telling the viewers here to even bring, sometimes, though, you'll comment on that, sometimes the father indeed is a pathological, is a toxic person. He does drugs, he does alcohol. That's when, like Miss So was saying, we need court to be involved, we need professional help, and then that child could be taken away from that parent. But if there is unfounded unfounded lies about the other parent is very dangerous. Viewers, I would like you to pay attention to what you said. So what do we do for parents that one of them, the divorce, probably even the separation, was due to either domestic violence or probably, because that's also dangerous for the kids, or there's drug abuse, there's alcoholism? What do we do in terms of, we still want our children to be close to their relatives? What do we do in those cases?
In those cases, it is important for us to involve the other professionals,
Yes.
to involve the child protection team, together with the police, with the law, with law enforcement. It depends on the extent of the domestic violence
Yes.
and the extent of the exposure, of the child.
Yes.
Whether the child was also abused in the process or it was only exposure, because domestic violence also contributes to parental alienation,
Yes.
in that
Yes.
this parent, the child tends to align with the parent that has been abused, and they will want to protect um, this parent that has been abused. So when we look at it, we can't be looking at it, that one, as simply as the other alienation. It's a matter of us making sure that the child is safe.
Yes.
Now, if there are interventions that are aimed at helping the father to deal with the abusive behaviors,
Yes.
and all of that, after that, then supervised visits can be arranged.
Yes.
And from supervised visits, then it would go to free visits where a child can freely visit, the other partner. But it all needs the professional intervention, of everyone who is involved in child protection, because child protection is not an a matter of one, of one stakeholder. It is a multidisciplinary thing that needs all of the professionals that are involved, and including the communities, and everyone that is involved, to play a part, to blow the whistle, to watch out, to report, and also support when there are challenges that families are facing.
Yes.
So with domestic violence, it will be dealt differently, because we have to make sure that the child is safe,
Absolutely.
because
Absolutely. And I've
child
seen,
safety is of paramount importance. There is
yes,
no way that we would say the father must have access to the child when he is a danger to the child.
absolutely. Yes. That's why
Understand?
I wanted our viewers, and sometimes it could be the mother, because we've seen women, we tend to underestimate women that are abusive, because we've seen men. It's just that unfortunately men do not report abuse. We've seen a lot of women who are abusive.
Mm.
They would actually be domestically abusive towards their husbands or their partners. And then
Mm.
it becomes even more toxic and more even complicated because there's no reports, right? And
Mm.
it's always great if viewers here, there's teachers, please help these families, because teachers are amazing at watching children's behaviors. So what can you tell us? Viewers would probably want to know here. So you touched a bit on how these kids present. What should we see? Like, what are we looking for these kids in their performance at school or in general? How do they behave?
Um, the first thing that you've already mentioned would be increase the anger,
Yes.
which could lead to those somatic, presentations in the child of headaches and all of that.
Yes.
Anxiety, you know, anxiety, depression, and confusion, because they are forced to choose. I think this thing of being forced to choose between two people that you love,
Yes.
is the one that leads to confusion, anxiety, and depression. And the anger could also be a result of the information that has been divulged to the child, that was not for the child's consumption, about the things that this partner has done to me, as a parent. So if we take those issues, our adult issues,
Yes.
and we put the child in the middle of them, and we feed the child with those issues, then it's going to result in this confusion, in this anger, and we know that anger is not good for the body.
No,
It
no.
it causes things in the body,
Yes.
but that is your forte. Another thing is an unhealthy sense of entitlement.
Mm.
This unhealthy sense of entitlement results from the fact that I am buying this child. Almost when you buy a child, you want the child to be on your corner, to
Yes.
align with you. You
Yes.
are going to give the child things that they are not supposed to be getting. They
Mm.
will not. They will have issue having boundaries because you are not going to create boundaries,
Yes.
which means that we are going to have to raise a child that does not have boundaries and cannot make boundaries, for themselves. It
Yes.
results in them uh, struggling to establish relationships
Yes, I'm glad
because
you're touching that because again, we go back to how even these kids choose partners because it's an abuse. Actually, parental alienation, it's an abuse, it's an emotional abuse, and sometimes, of course, there's physical because this abuse it extends to how kids choose their own partners. You just mentioned the boundary. We see these children choosing abusive partners, same as the alienator. It's so sad. We see this all the time. Go
they,
ahead.
they, the behavioral patterns will result from the fact that they 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 hate this other parent, and they are forced to lie, you know. So there is lack of ambivalence, in this child.
Mm.
Uh, they don't know, they can't play with other children. So it results in social alienation because a child will not be able to play with other kids if they have this uh,
Anger.
skewed view of reality.
Yes.
Even the skewed view of reality, and and this sense of entitlement, because
Yes.
it means that even with the toys,
Yes.
they will be entitled to everything. They will be
Ex-
entitled to the teacher's attention. You
Mm.
understand?
Yeah.
So those behavioral, traits might be seen in the children, and they might also be having feelings of abandonment
Of course. Of course.
um, by the other parent,
Of course.
because this child has been staying, with this other part, and
Yeah.
has been fed wrong information and negative information about this other,
Yeah.
that leads this child to believe that this other party did not want them. You
Of course.
understand?
Yes.
And abandoned them, you
Mm.
know,
Yeah.
left them for this other new lady, you
Yes.
know,
New man. Oh man.
or the new man. You
Yeah.
understand? In the relationship, the mother or the father might be saying, eh, he or she does not love you.
Hmm.
He loves that new family.
Of course. It has happened. It's
And
happening all the time.
they will be comparing, the father to the new spouse
Mm.
continually. Like if I have a new man in my life, I will
Yes.
be comparing the father to this new man,
Mm.
to my kids, so that they align with me and this new partner. So this new partner is the best thing that has ever happened to them,
Oh my gosh. So it's
which
happening all
which is twisted, because he is the best thing that has ever happened to me, as
not
the
your
adult,
children.
not
Yes.
to the children. The
Yes.
father is the best thing that has ever happened to the children.
Yes.
You
Oh,
understand? And it does not change that.
yes, yes. I'll go back again to I would love us Africans or globally, I would like us to pay attention to who is raising your child because, like I said again, lot of families, women are leading those families. Where are the men? And a lot of times, like Miss Zoe is saying, a lot of times bitterness alienates these children from their fathers. And then we have nations, we are struggling right now. I'll go back to again to South Africa. There is domestic violence. Kids, boys, they're in jails. What could be the cause? It's all sometimes due to issues like this. absent fathers. We all know that the importance of fathers in our lives is fundamental. And I always say, I'm the mother to my children, but I could never be their dad. Never. Like you said, you just mentioned beautifully that their father is the best thing ever happened to them. And again, we are paying attention to the fact that sometimes the dads are not the greatest and sometimes the moms are not the greatest. So when do we involve extended family? Now there's aunts, there's uncles that are amazing, or there's grandparents. How do we get them involved?
With alienation, it becomes a challenge because the alienating parent will make sure that the alienation extends to the extended family.
Oh my God.
So when the mother has got issues with the father, it's gonna extend to the aunts, the paternal uncles, and the paternal grandparents.
Oh my God.
This alienating parent will refuse for the child to have contact with these with the family members because they suddenly think that they will poison their children and they are not good enough, you know, and they took the side of the husband during the divorce.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And we forget in that process that when there is a divorce, the mother needs the support of their family
Yes.
as much as the father needs the support of their family.
Absolutely.
Now we need to be emotionally matured to be able to separate that support, you know, and those people being against you. You understand? We need to acknowledge that he is a son and
Absolutely.
and there are people that are bound to support him. And he also needs that support as much as you need your own support because divorce is a very draining, you know, emotionally draining thing. And you need support, you know, from wherever it comes from. And the first line of support is the extended family.
Extended families. Yes.
And
Yes.
we know that in African culture, you know, the extended family plays a big role
Absolutely.
in
Yes.
our families because we don't have nuclear families that much. You know, our families are very much extended. You know,
Yes.
and these children are brought up by all. Now we need to be matured enough and know that these children will benefit from a
Absolutely.
healthy relationship with an extended family,
Yeah.
both extended families, because a children has a right
Yes.
to be cared for by both parents and to have relationships with the extended families, the both extended families.
Yeah.
And no extended family is better than the other.
Yes.
No extended family is bigger than the other.
Love
If,
it.
for instance, I am the female, I am the mother of these children, as a female, I must not undermine the extended family. You know,
Mm.
it does not matter their social status, you know, or how they do things, because these children belong to that family.
Yes.
Now,
Absolutely.
the
Love it.
sooner you start establishing a relationship between the children and the extended family on the paternal side, if you are the mother, if you are on the paternal side with the mother on the and with that family, it is for the benefit of the children.
Yes.
Now, if you can, we can keep that in mind always. That it is not about you. You understand? It does not matter the things that they said about you during
Yes.
the divorce.
Yes.
It does not matter that they took the side of their son, and they had a relationship with the lady that had an affair
Oh
with your
my
husband.
God.
You
Yes.
understand? It does not matter because that is between you and adults.
Yes.
When it comes to children, you know, the children need to see them because that is their grandmother.
Absolutely.
Maybe
Yeah.
we need to stop the view that if he does not love me, if a person does not like me, they cannot like my children. Because
No, it's
in the
not.
instance of divorce, those children will not stop being the grandchildren in that
Yes.
family.
No.
You understand?
Yes.
It does not matter how bad our relations are, but it does not make them not to be part of that family. Now we cannot alienate on the basis of our adult issues. I think you've said it. Emotional intelligence needs to take part in this. We need to handle it maturely and be able to separate adult issues,
Absolutely.
our relationship issues and the children.
Yes. You know what, Zoe? We are raising our children in hard times. In our times, there were not many drugs. Yes, we heard of benzene and all those things in South Africa. Now, our children with this parental alienation, I've seen the alienator actually giving even more money to this child. And this is when a child who is so immature in handling all these emotional issues he or she is dealing with, that's when the drugs come into play. We're seeing a lot of young kids doing drugs, which we both know drugs have a very detrimental effect on a child's brain. Last week, actually, we were talking about the effects of drugs to cognitive changes in children's brains. I so love to still talk to you. I'm gonna take questions here because people have questions. April says, watching Zoe Soa, my love. Thank you so much, April. April Eris Ayanda Koyama is saying hello to you, Zoe. Noxolo Xabanisa Mzileni, I'm here, Zoe. Chomam, watching you. Thank you so much, sis. Kuzanai Diwali says, yes, yes. I guess he's saying, yes, you guys are right. Thank you so much. Alex, my buddy, says, why do women use children as weapons? Do you want to take that, Zoe?
Yeah, I'll take it, Mandy. They use children as weapons because they are in war.
Yes. Yes.
There is war between the two parties.
Yes.
And the war comes from whatever caused the separation and the divorce. Understand? Whatever that happened in that relationship is causing these people to be at war. Now, when there is war, people have to use whatever weapon. And I think the first weapon that is available to parents, unfortunately, is children.
Yes.
Because they know that it's going to hit hard on the other part.
Of course. Of
Because
course.
they know that this other partner loves these children. You understand? So if they separate them from the children, then they get back at them. So it's all about an adult trying to satisfy their own needs, not even healthy needs.
Yeah.
Their own selfish,
Selfish needs.
selfish needs. That's
Yes.
why children
You mentioned there's narcissism here. A lot of times, these parents that are alienating, they have narcissistic behaviors. It's all about them. What can I get from him or at him? I'm going to use these children. And it's obvious that we all know that we love our children. So are the fathers or the mothers love their kids. You said it beautifully. So why all of a sudden you think your child would be hated by the father or the mother? Thank you so much, sis, for saying that. 8 to 20 says, I've been dealing with parental alienation for years. Is there a cure? So you want to take that?
Yes, it's so sad, it's so sad that this is happening, like daily, and people are going through it because there is no cure for it, but there are things that could be done if only this other party could seek professional assistance. Now, the challenge is how do you make this other party see that they have a challenge?
Yes. So tell me, so what does the court say there? Because I would assume, and unfortunately, like we're saying, parental alienation has been around for years, but the problem that makes it become so under evaluated, it's because it's not on the DSM-5. It's not a mental disorder. So, like, easy to say to another parent if they have a diagnosis of depression or schizophrenia, that the court can say, you have a diagnosis, so as such, these are the steps you need. But with parental alienation, how come the psychologists, the social workers have not stepped up and made it something that a parent needs to follow these steps in order to be able to have a healthy relationship with the other partner and the child? Because truly, this guy has been dealing with this for years. How come the courts have not put, like, I would like to see their stand on this situation?
I will in response to that, I will make an example of a case that I think a few cases that I've come into contact with, in relation to this and the court.
Yes.
It you can fight it in court. You can go to court and fight, but if this other partner has succeeded in programming the child. And there's nothing that can be done. We have had cases where children have been to therapy, and the other party has been to therapy. All parties have been to therapy, but it has not helped. The child will come back from therapy after sessions and sessions and sessions of therapy and come back and say, I do not want anything to do with him.
Oh my
I
God.
do not want anything to do with her. And in those cases, the court cannot force.
Yes.
There's one thing that we cannot force either as professionals or the court, and that is love. You
That's
cannot force a father to love a child. You cannot force a child to love their parent. Now, if you do not succeed in therapy, then the battle is lost. I usually advise the parents that have been alienated to such an extent. I would usually advise them to accept the situation, but do something on the side, like have a memory book and an album. Write and update that journal every day. Write all the feelings that they are feeling when they are missing the child and what they would be doing, and take photos, and keep that. If they want to write letters, write letters. Keep that in a box so that when the child grows, when the child is 19, when the child is 20, the child can get that box. You understand?
yes.
And when they look at that box, it will take them down memory lane and it will make them see what was happening. They will get a new perspective because they are an adult now. At least they will be able to see the side of this other party, the story of this other party, and understand what was going through. If they love them, they must write it every day, record, a video, send a message, all those things will not be going to the child because the child does not want to hear them and they don't want to see them. But wait until the child becomes an adult,
Yes.
and don't force yourself through as this alienated parent to the child. But say that, my child, when you are ready, there's something that I would love to give you. Maybe you can give them at the age of 25, let it be their birthday present,
Oh,
you know,
thank you so
and,
much.
and give them those memories so that they can get your own perspective. It
Yeah.
is sad, it is a loss, you understand, but there's nothing that we can do, unfortunately.
Yes. Thank you
Mm.
so much. So it's so beautiful because I've seen a good friend of mine going through this, paying so much in court. Like you said, it's a lost battle. He lost over 100,000 Canadian dollars because he was going through this. It's so hard. The alienating parent could even go to an extent of even pairing with teachers. We've seen teachers, even
Mm-hmm.
psychologists. There's power of money. Sometimes another parent is not capable financially to fight all these battles. I've seen
Mm.
parents fighting and also buying, like literally, psychologists basically going against their principles and their ethics,
Mm. Mm.
going with the alienating parent. Or the
Mm.
teachers, we've seen them talking about when a child was with the other parent, they showed up late or they were sleepy in class. Like all these lies, sometimes they come from teachers and psychologists. So we really want to pay attention to those kind of things. And Princess says hello. So one of my sister here, Audra, is taking. I don't know what happened there, so I went off. Uh,
Hi. Okay, I saw it.
yeah, my sister is taking her friend Fihliwe. My sister is also saying, "Wow, She says, makes so much sense. That's the best approach. So she's actually complimenting what you just said. Janet Beth says, why are children becoming alienated from their parents? I think
They,
you're
they,
right.
they are alienated by the other parent
Yes.
who is fighting their own battles,
Yes.
you know,
The failed mothers or failed
using them. Children are victims in this
yes.
in this issue of parental alienation. But I don't know if as you scroll, I want to mention something that is becoming an issue for our families, especially now here where I am here in South Africa.
Yes.
The issue of the extended family
Mm.
and them alienating the fathers, the maternal families. Maybe it's a topic that we need to discuss
We're gonna
on
bring you back.
on a day on its own.
Yes.
But we are having a serious issue of the extended family alienating the other biological parent when the other parent is deceased.
Oh my gosh. So you basically saying one parent is gone, passed away, and
Mm-hmm.
the kids are with the other parents. Those parents don't want anything to do with the other side.
Exactly.
Oh, that's
Especially in cases where there was divorce. You know,
mm,
the maternal families, and I'm going to say the maternal families because 98% has been them. Our mothers do not want to let go.
mm,
Our mothers do not want to understand that whatever issue I had with my husband, I have sorted it out, our relations, and we are talking, you understand, and we are, for the interest of the children, we are in
okay.
a good relationship, you
Yes.
understand.
Yes.
Now if I pass on, now my mother will not want anything to do with my ex-husband, who
Mm.
is the father of my children.
Yes. And now failing those children because we do see, and again, I'll keep going back because I see it all the time at work. So these children, they become so destroyed emotionally. They do drugs, they drop out of school, they in gangs, they are bullies. This is another topic for another day because I would love
Mm.
us to dwell a lot on the extended families because they play a big role too. Jeanette says we need to prepare ourselves for marriage and for having children. Absolutely, Jeanette. That's important.
I always say that, you might have seen it, in my timeline. I always say people cannot just get married. I wish that Home Affairs would not even issue a certificate before a person has written a test, which is marriage preparation,
Yes,
because it becomes a problem that
yes.
you get a certificate before you even enter,
You enter.
the
Yes,
test room. So it would have been nicer if it was compulsory for everyone to have marriage preparation, and to also deal in the process, also deal with our individual issues, because I think the problem comes from the fact that as adults we have our own issues,
yes,
our own childhood issues,
yes,
and the way that we were brought up, things that happened to us and all of that, and we don't deal with them.
yes,
As as the Africans, we
yes,
need to learn to
yes,
start consulting.
yes,
You don't only consult because you have problems,
yes,
or you are struggling, or you have mental issues.
yes,
No, you
yes,
consult because it is a healthy thing. Like you go to see Dr. Unati, you need to go and see a social worker just to talk, you know,
yes,
and
yes,
to deal with your own issues.
yes,
So that when you go and join this other person to start a family, you
mm,
are a complete individual. You
yes,
are a content and mature individual. You are emotionally intelligent.
yes,
Because if you go in there with your issues, you
yes,
are going to do these things. You are
yes,
not going to be able to accept also that the marriage is not working. You
yes.
are going to be blaming these other parties when sometimes you are the one who caused the divorce because
That's
of your own issues.
yes. You know what, though? In the beginning, our very first show, I brought one of my colleagues here. We were talking about adverse childhood experiences. I would like our viewers to go back to our very first show. We were talking about the exact issues Ms. Zoliswa is talking about, because a lot of times we don't choose. In fact, we don't choose our past. We don't choose our parents. We don't choose who raises us. But those effects show up in our relationships, at work, in our parenting. Thank you for mentioning that, Zoe. Janet says both are life-changing events, and people receive virtually no preparation for this. Absolutely, you're right. And Janet again says, yes, marriage preparation test and certificate. So she's applauding you for saying that. Debrima says, our ancestors did not really have these issues. What really changed?
What has changed is the society,
Yes,
and the culture.
the
And
culture.
we are evolving. The society has evolved. We
Yeah,
don't do things the same way that they were done before. You know,
exactly.
we are not we are forced by circumstances sometimes not to even be part of the extended family.
I know.
The viewer must remember that we used to grow up in extended families,
Yeah,
and everyone would be in the same household,
yeah,
and everyone was parenting,
yes,
and no one person was responsible. But we find
absolutely.
ourselves in big cities,
Yes,
eh, because we want to make a living, and we don't have the benefit of the extended family. That's
yes.
why it starts. So you are this family of four, that is two adults and two children. You know,
So what?
so
So it's interesting
what
you
is
mentioned
going to
that.
happen in that
Yes,
environment? So
yes,
those are the issues. The issues are coming from the setup of the society.
yes, yes.
What is happening around us is affecting the families. The family structure is not the same as it used to be.
Oh,
The family, the rules and the norms of the society as a whole have changed. In South Africa, we talk about the moral degeneration. You understand?
oh my
There are all those things. The moral fabric of the society is not the same as
God.
before.
Yes,
We are Children are more exposed, and us, we are also more exposed to substances, and other challenges that are financial. Uh, we don't own the means of production, so it also affects the whole lot of things that are happening in families. So there's a lot of challenges that are affecting our families, and
yes.
those things, they trickle down to the children,
That's true. You know what?
because children are a result of families.
Absolutely. You are mentioning something important. I think one time we actually talked about this, how things have changed. People live in the cities. I found myself sometimes living in Canada that, oh my gosh, I've taken my kids away from the family. We are just a small family now here. They don't have their grandparents, their aunts. And I was talking to a good friend here in Canada too, and she said, guess what? Even my friends in Johannesburg, they're experiencing that because they've left their village. They feel the same way as we feel here in Canada. So, like you said, things have changed. I think we need to start going back. And I don't know how it's going to happen, though, because, like you said, the society has evolved, but probably efforts. That going back home. At least maybe once a year. It's something that we want to start implementing, even for us here, for the kids to access their grandparents.
I can come in to say that, regarding that, what can be done, because we cannot go back, unfortunately. We
Yes.
cannot go back. But I think what is important is for us to strengthen
Yes.
the
Very.
parenting side.
Yeah.
Parenting is not something that is automatic. You have a baby because biologically you can, but it does not mean that you have the parenting skills, because
Yes.
parenting is not biology.
Yes.
You understand?
Parenting is
You
not
do.
biology. I am gonna write
Mm-mm.
it down here. Parenting is not biology.
We,
Thank you
we
so
talk about parenthood,
much.
and that when we get the babies from the hospital, we come back from the hospital. It does not come with a manual. Everything else in the world has got a manual that comes with it when it is new, but babies do not come with a manual, which means that in the absence of our extended families to help us in raising these kids, and we need to to be parents that are emotionally mature to an extent that we know that we can go and see social workers about parenting. It does not mean you are a bad parent just because you come in to say, sis, also I need to talk about, I cannot deal with this child, I don't know what to do. There is nothing wrong with not knowing what to do with a child, because you don't know, you did not get a manual for it. So people need, especially us, the middle class, the working parents, they need to improve on the parenting skills. They need to attend sessions. They are always not available for everything, when they are called for. Just because you are not sick, it does not mean that you need to stay. You need to be proactive and empower yourselves as parents.
Love it.
So use the opportunities, because here in South Africa, there's a whole lot of programs that are aimed at strengthening, families, and especially parent. There are parenting programs that are out there, and they are for free. There are government ones, government programs that are there for free, and the NGOs, like the one that I work for, we render those programs for free. You understand? In the majority. There are also those that are paid for, paid for services for those that can also afford. So there's a lot, there's a buffet, of services.
Okay. Love
So
it.
we need to use it. We need to choose to be better parents
Because every
and
parent
not be
brings
afraid.
a child to this world, but not every parent is a good parent. That's the sad part. That's true. You were saying something, Zo?
I also wanted to say, this alienating the other parent thing, it's so bad that you see the other way to see that a child is being alienated is with the language. You find a child using a language that does not belong to their stage of development. You can hear the words that this is the mother talking or this is the father talking. You hear.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to stop, exposing our children to language that is not supposed to, that they are not supposed to hear,
Yes.
that is not suitable for their development. Because you hear children talking about events that happened before
They were born.
their memory, their memory, was developed.
Wow.
Something that happened before they were born, or even at 6 months or 1 year. If you are telling a child that your father did not sleep at home, for a week when you were born, what is the purpose of telling the child that?
Yes.
Now, these children will bring those things to the session. You hear them saying that he was never there.
What does she know? She was 6 months old.
Exactly.
So it's the other parent doing it. Parents, I would like us to change.
Mm.
And my sister Audra here says, perhaps courts, in as much as they cannot force love, but they sure can make a determination with regards to right to access. If eventually the kids get to know the alienated parent, then in their own way, they will realize that the alienating parent was pushing their agenda. Yes, thank you so much, my sister. Like who has mentioned already. Janet says, counseling prior to both events would be beneficial as well. Absolutely. And I think, South Africa has introduced, I'm not sure if it's still happening, so before marriage, there's HIV testing, isn't it, as a mandatory thing in South Africa?
No, it is not mandatory. I think it depends on who's doing the premarital counseling.
Okay. Oh, it's a
For
church thing.
those that
Yes,
go for it, even the premarital counseling is not mandatory.
I know. It should be.
So,
I think it's
so if a person does not go for it, then they probably won't. So if they
that's
are naive, they won't even be tested. So I strongly believe that there's a need for counseling before, and for before marriage, and counseling during the marriage to strengthen the marriage itself,
marriages.
so
Yes.
that we could reduce the rate of divorce,
Yes.
because we do not want our children growing up in broken homes. It is ideal that they grow up in strong homes,
Yes.
because we must remember that when we are in marriage, we are setting a template for our children.
That's true.
No one knows how to do marriage except from looking
Yes.
at your own parents.
Yes.
If you never had parents that were married, you look at the couple next door, in the community. So
Yes.
you cut your pattern from a specific family.
Yes.
So
Thank you so much.
if we can always be mindful of the fact that as we do our own marriages, we are not doing it for ourselves only. We are also doing. There's a child who's watching out there. Your children are watching, and also a child in the neighborhood who says, I love the how mama so and so and dada so and so, how they do things, how
Yes.
they work together, how they show affection. You
Yes.
understand? So how we do things, if you are abusive of your partner, your girl child is going to do the same thing to their partner,
Yes. Yes.
because that's how they have seen it being done. You know,
Yes. Yes.
they think it is normal to treat a person that way.
That way. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. So Ryan says, hello, nice seeing a live stream on the subject of parental alienation. Thank you so much, Ryan. Thank you so much. Oh man, Ryan is heartbroken. He says, I never met my daughter. She's 15. So sorry, Ryan. It's exactly what we're discussing. We're hoping you could actually take what Miss Soliso was saying, just collect those memories. I'm just hoping at some point when you had contact, you had some pictures, develop that beautiful journal so that you can present to her. Because I'm pretty sure the universe will make you meet one day. God will definitely be with you that way. And Ryan again says, my ex ran off when I caught her cheating. Then, sorry, never knew she was pregnant. I could never find them after the DNA test. So sorry. These things happen. These things happen. So sorry to hear that, right? Must be heartbreaking. And Jeanette says, yes, many children are exposed to events and information they should not know. Absolutely. And okay, Odwa, my sister is responding to, no, it's not mandatory. I was asking about if it's mandatory.
HIV.
And Jeanette says, yes, seeing positive examples is important. This brings us to the end of our conversation. I want to keep going. We even went 7 minutes over. I've never done this before in my shows. Thank you so much, Miss Zoe. What is your take home for my viewers? I'm pretty sure they want to take something home.
I just want to say that as parents, when we are parents, we must learn to be emotionally mature. We must grow up as parents, and everything that we do, it needs to be in the best interest of the child. We need to know that a child has a right. This is a child protection matter, because a child has got a right to both parents. They have a right to be cared for and have a relationship with both parents. Now, we should never forget that. Not unless there is an abuse, on the other part. But the basis is a child has a right to both parents.
Yes.
Now, it means that we must learn to deal with our own issues. Let us deal with the adult issues separately, and make sure that the best interests of the child are of paramount importance, as they are supposed to be.
Thank you so much, Zoe. I am so grateful for this talk. You were just phenomenal. And I'm going to bring you back because I would like us to talk more on the issues of extended families. Guys, thank you so much for watching us. Come back next week, same time. We'll bring more topics to you. Actually, one of the speakers I'm going to bring here, I'm not sure of the date yet, the issues we have as Black women, this notion that we are strong and yet we are struggling internally. This notion, I see it also in the healthcare as a physician. Black women are perceived as strong and yet they are struggling too. So stay with us. We're coming back with these hot topics. And if you have any suggestions, drop these suggestions so that we can bring them to you. I bring all these people that are empowered like Miss So to come share their wisdom with us. Again, thank you so much for staying with us. I'll see you again next week.
Okay, thank you for having me, Dr.
Thank you
Onati.
so much. Thank you so much, So.